what is that smell? I am definitely getting a hint of a deal. Oh wait, it's more than a hint. Yeah, these are the best deals, and not just this season, but all year long. In all seriousness, the smartest shoppers know that you get the brands you love with the most savings and cash back with Rakuten. And I know I'm certainly interested in sniffing out those deals. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Urban Outfitters, Petco, even Expedia, and getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cashback through PayPal or check. Smells like a perfect deal to me. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Xyzal. At night.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to fight monsters. That road has led them to fighting demons, angels, and saving the world.
It's a journey that is taking them to heaven, hell, and back. But they aren't done.
Join our journey as we go episode by episode, following the adventures of Sam and Dean Winchester. We break each episode down with the writers, producers, directors, crew, and actors to bring you the behind-the-scenes stories of how this legendary TV series was made. That guy right there, that's Rob Benedict. He played God and Chuck Shirley.
Hey, and that guy there, that's Richard Spade Jr. He played Gabriel, Loki, and the Trickster. And P.S., he directed a bunch of episodes, too.
Now, while we are insiders, we're also outsiders, because we're not experts. This is our first time watching the entire series, all 327 episodes.
Rich and I have met many of the fans at conventions around the world, and we are deepening our understanding of why you all love this series so much. Because it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Now, listen. There will be spoilers, so consider yourself warned.
And thank you for joining us on this trip we call Supernatural Then and Now. Hey everybody, it's Rob Benedict.
And Richard Spade Jr.
And we're talking about Season 6, Episode 21, Let It Bleed.
I don't agree, buddy.
I say let it bleed.
No, I say bandage it.
Let it bleed.
There's an argument for letting it bleed, but there's an argument for putting a tourniquet on it or some kind of bandage. You don't want to bleed out.
Release the blood, I say.
Gross.
You know, most people might listen alone while driving or working out, taking a walk, or doing chores. However...
How do we know that? Who gave us those stats?
Well,
most of our listeners are left-handed, so we thought we'd approach... What is this?
That's just what the podcast stats tell us at Podcast Central. However, have you ever considered listening with a friend? Laughter can be contagious. Plus, you can react in real time to everything we're getting wrong. So if you're inclined, every Saturday on Patreon, we host an early access live stream of the latest audio episode with live chat. So everyone's listening together and commenting in real time.
Can you imagine the thrill of getting to make fun of Steve as we're discussing Steve? I mean, come on now. That's gold.
I would like to be a fly on the wall for this so people can be like, oh, they got that wrong. You know what I mean? People talking about our mistakes.
Man, Rob's wrong.
Yeah.
Good Lord, Rich is hot. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
No, but realistically.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, patreon.com/SPN then and now. That's where you need to go if you want to be a part of that party.
All right, Robert, speaking of parties, get this barnyard party started with your summary.
All right. Lots going on. Dean, Sam, and Bobby are in Bobby's house immediately following Dean's conversation with Castiel about the angel not stopping his plans to split the souls in purgatory with Crowley so that he can win his war in heaven against Raphael.
Yeah.
I'm glad you wrote it out for me there because I started to get confused. Who is what? I just know that Castiel's not on our side right now.
Yeah, he's doing a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I got to open up my dumb notes. Okay, yeah. Did you notice when Jensen got this call here, it looks like he's looking at sides. He's looking at two pieces of paper.
No, I didn't notice that.
He's not. I just kind of looked that way. Anyway, so everyone is reviewing past Campbell journals to see if they hold any information about purgatory. Bobby recalls that Moesha Campbell's journal of the New York Campbells contains something about H.P. Lovecraft from the early 20th century.
Is that supposed to be a real person, by the way? Is H.P. Lovecraft
It is a real person. Yeah, I actually looked it up.
I've never heard of that guy.
We skipped it, but in the intro here, you see H.P. Lovecraft get killed by something. Anyway, Moesha Campbell reveals something about H.P. Lovecraft from the early 20th century. It seemed Castiel stole the original. However, Paranoid Bobby made a copy. The group speculates that perhaps the horror writer knew something about accessing other dimensions and purgatory. Suddenly, Dean gets a call from Ben.
Do you have to pay a license fee to use the actual, if you're referencing H.P. Lovecraft? Is that a thing?
It was over 100 years old. Over 100 years old, you can do it. So suddenly Dean gets a call from Ben. He and Lisa have been abducted by Crowley. He tells the brothers to back off their search for him or else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you notice how much it's raining in this episode? It's a lot of rain going on.
I actually didn't.
Vancouver's just rearing its ugly head weather-wise. The boys summon Balthazar for help. When are we going to have him as a guest? He doesn't seem interested in offering his assistance, but seems surprised that Castiel is working with Crowley. Meanwhile, Bobby interviews Judah.
I feel bad for him.
Judah?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny. It was a funny role.
No, I think the actor's good. I mean, I'm just saying, it's you're nerd in the basement.
Yeah.
It's kind of that old school 80s, even though it's not the 80s.
Yeah.
Anybody who's good on computers must be a nerd.
Yeah. Judah tells the story about the night Lovecraft performed a ritual, and within a year, everyone there died. The only survivor was a 9-year-old boy who is now an old man in a mental institution. Apparently, Castiel spoke with Judah first and has the same information. Sam and Dean have started capturing and interrogating demons to try and find the location of Crowley. Castiel confronts Crowley about kidnapping Lisa and Ben, but the demon refuses to reveal where they are being kept. Castiel leaves to speak with Balthazar, who questions the angel about his plan to absorb so many souls to become powerful. He thinks maybe he'll, destroy him, make him blow up. Balthazar speculates that Castiel is likely to explode. Look at me trying to improv what happened, and then there it's actually written. Balthazar speculates that Castiel is likely to explode and take half the planet with him. However, Balthazar acquiesces when Castiel asks for his loyalty. So Bobby interviews the old man at the mental institution, which...
I thought that guy was great. The old man in the institution did a great job.
It was very good, very good. And I don't know if I bought the mental institution. It felt like there was one woman who was going around poking everyone.
In the eyeball.
And then this guy, I don't know, it seemed a little bit just like old folks' home, except you have one woman walking around poking everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, he learns from the old guy that whatever got through the gate possessed the boy's mother. Bobby is shocked when he sees a photo and recognizes Eleanor, his ex, who was the dragon expert from Like a Virgin. Remember, Rich?
Yeah. Tried to get she had the big stone in her living room.
in the rock, and Dean had the whole comedy bit about getting it out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dean gets sloppy interviewing a demon and is strangled when Castiel appears and saves him. Castiel wants Dean to trust him, but he can't. Boy, Castiel and Dean are really having a lover spat through this whole episode. Bobby finds Eleanor in a cabin in the woods. She admits she is a creature that came through the portal, but didn't kill Lovecraft and doesn't want Earth destroyed. She doesn't fess up to open the portal and rejects an offer for protection. Well, that's not going to be good for her, you know?
Right.
Balthazar appears to Sam and Dean at Bobby's house. He tells the brothers that Castiel has lost it. He sends the boys to rescue Lisa and Ben. They split up. Sam gets captured by demons. However, Dean is able to beat his way through to a heroic entrance. I mean, that was a Superman. You hear him outside the door, beating everybody up. It was a real Superman moment.
Oh, yeah. Throwing through the stair rail, a couple of guys.
Well, and he beats up all of them. He unties Lisa and Ben to escape, but she pulls a knife on Ben. She's possessed by a demon.
Oh, no.
They fight. Ben is able to break free.
Thank God.
The demon in her body stabs Lisa in her gut.
That was a bummer.
Knowing if it gets exorcised, Lisa will die.
Yeah.
Dean makes the hard choice to exorcise the demon anyway. So Lisa collapses, but she's still breathing. Dean hands Ben a gun to blast their way out, and then randomly slaps him
to get him to focus. Right?
Yeah, slaps.
I've had to do that to you once or twice.
That's crazy. He slaps the kid,
and
then he hands Ben a gun to blast their way out. On the way, they find Sam and hotwire a car to take Lisa to the hospital. In the hospital, Castiel appears and heals Lisa. Dean asks the angel to wipe Lisa and Ben's memory of him. Dean tells Castiel this doesn't change anything.
By the way, real quickly. When he leans in, he's like, I'm the guy who hit you. And they're like, oh, well, we're just great, so everything's well.
Yeah.
She would have been like, oh, well, I'm going to sue you into the Stone Age. What about this car wreck? You hit me and I'm in the hospital? Guess who's paying for these bills? You, Johnny Flannel.
They're just empty-minded.
Yeah, they're like, oh, cool. Yeah, you hit us and you're leaning on the doorway. Okay, thanks.
Wiped
thanks
of everything.
for swinging by.
Maybe they over-wiped their memory and they're like, what's a hospital?
They don't know the legal system? Yeah, I guess so.
Who are you? Dean tells Castiel, this doesn't change anything. They're still in a lover spat.
Dude, and by the way, you keep saying that. You're not wrong. Like, for years, I have not understood this Destiel thing.
Same.
For years, I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care, but I don't get it.
Yes.
Well, season 6 is really the little peephole into that relationship, isn't it? They are so a couple.
It's
the episode before this and this one, you're like,
they're such a couple.
All right, guys, why don't you dial it down to like 12 or 11?
Okay.
Like, good Lord.
I know. It's almost as if the writers knew and they're writing for it.
They of course did.
Yeah.
Suddenly Dean is like, gets his feelings hurt all the time. And Castiel's like, can't we connect? And you're like, what?
And Sam's even like, yeah, Dean's not doing well because,
I never realized it was this obvious.
And Dean's all jealous of Crowley. He's like, no, butt buddy.
This season really lays the groundwork for all of that.
I said it a couple podcasts ago and you made fun of me, but
You did, but man, they just kept going. I mean, it just leaned in and it's just, wow.
Yeah, point for Robbie on that one.
Robbie, well, you're dialed in when it comes to this kind of thing.
In the car, as the brothers leave, Dean tells Sam, don't you ever mention Lisa Bennett again or I'll break your nose.
Break your nose. This is also, why? Why? And why wouldn't Sam be like, dude, let's stop at a psychiatrist's office on our way out of this.
Chill out.
Like, what is wrong with you? I can't say, how are Lisa and Ben? That's it.
Yeah.
Down goes the nose.
Yeah.
Like, that's so weird.
So in a final moment, Eleanor is leaving the cabin and Castiel appears and takes her. That's, we all saw that coming. Eleanor was not.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of notes I put in my dumb notes here.
Please.
One is, did you notice that Crowley's, the medicine room or whatever, where he's always like cutting bodies up, is the Men of Letters?
Oh, is it? It is?
It's the same set. It's like that rounded back wall.
I knew it looked familiar because of the wall, but I couldn't figure out. It's a Men of Letters? I thought they hadn't built the Men of Letters until the next season.
The skeleton of the Men in Letters. I'm saying there's no Men of Letters yet.
Oh, gotcha.
Men of Letters doesn't come in until like season 10 or 11, but I'm just saying it's the skeleton of the same stuff. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely had a we've been in this set before vibe.
Yeah, a lot of the houses remind me of the Chuck house. They're just all kind of recycled. And then the other thing, I have a question. Okay, so Sebastian's character is Balthazar, and he's an archangel.
Yeah.
Where does he rank with Castiel, who's an angel?
I thought he outranked him, but
right?
I don't know.
Yeah, just they're kind of.
I think so. I think isn't Castiel just a rank and file angel?
Yes.
Like a regular angel?
But it was interesting in their conversation. They almost seem more like peers. But Castiel summoned him, and then he had to go. So that was obviously,
Yeah.
And the rest of the rain on Beaver, there's a scene where Beaver's just on the phone. It's just pouring rain on him. And Jensen looking at his size. And, I was just made a note that it's nice that the boys are getting along. The brothers are getting along at least.
I don't know. He threatened to break Jared's nose.
But that's his brother stuff. That's like you and me. That's Any Given Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting to me to see Castiel as kind of not the bad guy, but sort of against the brothers right now. And also,
I mean, if I have to have any more scenes of him going like, I did you let me explain?
Right.
There's no explaining. I just can't see you for a minute.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's constantly every GD time in the same room. It's like, Dean, this doesn't change anything.
Yeah, totally.
Dean, but I just saved your wife. I don't give a rat's. We're not talking.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was from Rich's upcoming one-man show, Supernatural, where he plays all the characters.
I just played Cass and Dean.
It's called Destiel, the musical. I thought it was interesting, Castiel in sort of that role where, he's not on the brother's side. But the other thing is Crowley is just straight up at this point. If you're watching the show, you can't see the future. Crowley's just a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a jerk. He's just a bad guy. Yells a lot too.
Boy, he does yell a lot.
There's a lot of in my way.
Yeah, totally.
If you tell if
you want to get it, you're gonna have to break the door down.
A lot of yelling.
Yeah, he does yell a lot.
Why are you raising your voice? You know damn well why I'm raising my voice.
Yeah.
They're yelling. Dean's off in a huff in the corner.
I just thought Dean's treatment of the boy was weird, just because he was like, grab a gun, watch for the kickback. And he's like, slaps him and said, get it together. Poor kid is like Well, if it weren't for his wiped mind, he would be ruined for life.
I know. I was like, jump out the window, break some bones. Doesn't matter. I'm like, I was like, break some bones. Okay, so now I'm just laying on the sidewalk with broken bones, and the demons can just walk out and grab me.
I know.
How's that
They're
an escape
demons.
plan?
I know. Also, I think that if with Bobby following this in the footsteps of Castiel, and they keep going like, hey, the guy with the khaki trench coat was here before you.
Yeah.
Bobby shouldn't be wearing a khaki trench coat.
I thought the same thing. He's kind of dressed. He's wearing a khaki jacket.
I mean, it had like brown patches on the elbows, but still, like, let's go for maybe black or something just to differentiate yourself.
Any other color in the rainbow?
Yeah, he works for the competing newspaper. Why do you guys dress exactly alike? And the Lovecraft thing, I had to look it up too. It was like, it's a lot of talk of Lovecraft. I didn't look up his death, but I'm sure we'll get into that in the fun facts and the
Lovecraft, baby, Lovecraft. Sign says, woo, stay away, fools, because love rules at the Lovecraft.
So what do you think? What's your it's time for the RRR, Rich.
Rob and Rich.
So smooth.
Ratings.
So sweet to my ears.
You know what it is?
Yes, that's
Practice,
right.
practice. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's what I do in my off time.
That's season 6 RRR right there.
Oh, I shudder to think what season 1 sounded like. We sounded like children. Now we're men.
All right, well, what's your RRR?
Okay, look, man, I'm not making apologies for the fact that this is not my favorite episode.
Doesn't feel like it.
Does that mean that I think the actors did a bad job? No, sir.
No.
It does not. Cindy Sampson,
Love her.
always awesome.
Yeah.
Misha Collins,
Yeah.
always fabulous.
Yeah.
Mark Shepard, a delight. Both, of course, Jared and Jensen delivering it at high levels, as always. I just don't think as an aggregate episode, it came together to be. My beef is, I just think the slight shift in how Dean is being portrayed,
Right.
how Dean is being portrayed, is not sitting well with me.
Right.
Doesn't make me right or wrong,
Well, except you're wrong.
just saying. But I got to give it a rating. At the end of the day, Rob, a rating has to be delivered.
Yeah.
And it has to be a facial hair-based rating.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do exactly that because this task requires that of me,
Okay.
and it deserves no less than that from me. So I'm going to deliver.
Okay, please. I'm on the edge of my seat, about to fall off.
I am giving this beard, and this time it's personal.
Okay.
I'm giving this beard a Steve Hine.
Ah, the Steve Hine. You're giving it the Hine.
I'm giving this beard to Steve Hine. For those who can't see Steve Hine, Steve will post a photo, I'm sure. He's always posting. He'll post a photo, but this time it won't be a boudoir photo. It'll just be him.
And I feel like you gave another Steve Hine recently.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the theme.
Yeah.
I feel like Steve Hine's got a nice, dope 5 o'clock shadow going.
Dope 5 o'clock shadow.
Nicely trimmed.
Yeah.
Good looking. But it is by no means a full beard. No, people go, oh, Steve, you're unshaven. You kind of have a scruffy look. But Stapleton wouldn't look at him and go, oh, there's my competition.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
It's just not even, and I'm looking at you, Rob, you got a nice healthy beard. It's not even like, I was thinking about, do I go Benedict? But I kind of think your beard is like a proper beard right now. And there's just the element of Dean's character design keeps me from being able to pull the trigger on that.
It's not quite there for you. It's not quite there.
But I'm giving him, like, look, nobody would look at Steve Hine and go, ugh.
No, great
They could
looking
look at Steve
man.
Hine
Great
and
looking
they
man.
think,
Great looking. 5 o'clock shadows are sexy. And so is Dean.
it looks great on him. I'm not even sure I want to see him in a full beard. You know what I mean?
Dean's still sexy, but you feel that Dean is not Dean. It's not the Dean that you've known, that you've come to know and love.
It's not how about this? It's not the Dean that Dick digs.
Right. Look, I see what you're saying about Dean. I agree that he hasn't quite been. There have been a few episodes this season where he's just not quite been the Dean that we've come to know and love. You know what I love that Crowley's lines. Crowley has so many good lines.
You know, and dude, I'm going to give you credit on something because I would say 9 times out of 10, we're pretty close. This one, we're not necessarily. And I think even hearing your review of it, I'm like, oh, Rob's got a good point.
There are some cool moments, and like when Crowley says "Jolly Green Giant" or something like that, referring to Sam, that was good. And I love Balthazar is fun to watch.
Gotta love Roche.
But I agree with you about the character Dean is finding its footing. Season 6, it's like they're just kind of refinding their footing. But if I have to give a beard, okay, so I feel like it's doing its best, but it's seen better days. So I'm thinking something like on a teenage boy. I'm thinking the Timothy Chalamet of right now. So Timothy Chalamet hosted Saturday Night Live a few weeks ago, and it's kind of like a goatee, but it's not. It's the best that Chalamet can do, but it's really not a beard. It's just like it's hair on his face. So I'm giving the old Chalamet.
Got it. That's good. And that's, you know what? And Chalamet does just fine with that.
Chalamet's doing great. He's nominated for an Academy Award. He's Chalamet. So I'm sticking with that. Well, you know who I can't wait to speak about all of this with is the director of this episode.
Chalamet?
And Chalamet. Joining us is either Timothy Chalamet or John F. Showalter, the director of the episode and our good friend.
Legend. Directed the third most episodes in all of Supernatural.
That's right. And recently he was directing episodes of The Irrational for NBC and Peacock.
That man works all the time.
He really never stops. And so here for you people is our conversation with John Showalter.
So how have you guys liked this season?
It's a trip, man.
It's been up and down.
It's we were just discussing before we dialed you up. It vacillates, man. Now, obviously, I think some of this is taste too. Like I have a fondness for the original Monster of the Week vibe or whatever, and I'm less into the melodrama of it all. So when it sways that way, I tend to like it more than when it sways. And season 6 seems to have more back and forth between the two styles.
Yeah, I would agree. Phil and I have over many beers have hashed this out. I think when you're following Kripke, that's a hard act to follow.
Yeah.
And I thought overall they did an amazing job. It's like a band. The Beatles in 5 years went from She Loves You to Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
So unless you're going to throw some new stuff at the audience,
right,
I'm not sure the show would have lasted as long if it didn't go through a bunch of different hands and a bunch of different iterations.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Was he around at all this season?
Yeah.
Like, was he?
People have said that he was kind of lurking around.
They say he was, but so he still had a hand in it. Kripke did?
I believe so. It's tough for me to tell as visiting director because we just got on a plane and just dealt with the crew. We never saw the writers.
Yeah.
I did meet Sarah on this one. She and Bob actually came up during the shoot of this one. So I got to meet her and I really liked her. Amazingly talented. I do think no matter who got in this position past Kripke, it could have been, David Kelly or whoever, they would have,
It's a different voice, man. It's a different voice, and that's totally acceptable.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was saying. Just because my reaction to it is what it is doesn't make me right. It's just I had a fondness for a bit of the alpha aggro stuff.
Me too.
So, when it veers away and is more heart-driven story, it doesn't grab me as much.
That's fair.
Which, by the way, segue into this episode.
Yeah.
Because you were given an episode here that is largely, there's some action and stuff, but it's largely, there's a lot of the drama between Dean and Cass. There's drama with Dean and his former family, the Lisa Ben connection. So you had a lot of that.
Yeah. This walked the line of, it could have been days of Supernatural.
Yeah.
But I thought she did the dance quite well because of the actors and everything else. I was rewatching it last night. My memory sucks.
We appreciate it.
I remember your guys' name. It's a good thing we got the little thing there.
Same.
It's like, this is kind of talky, but I don't know. I personally stayed in it. What did you guys?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Shepard's an engaging character, Crowley. Balthazar is an engaging character. So you bring in two really strong guest guys. I thought the old guy at the insane asylum was great. The actor you had for that. And I thought that scene was really endearing and touching. So there's plenty to enjoy throughout the show. I just feel like it was milking a drama between Cass and Dean that I found challenging to stay with. I felt like there's a lot of scenes of Dean going, "I just can't, Cass," and Cass going, "But Dean, I thought we were friends." Like, "Oh no, but not today." I felt like that was a repetitive theme throughout the thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't remember the season opener, but if anything, maybe that season suffered from laying too much pipe at times.
Wait a minute. Was this a season opener? Was this when Sam is looking in the window of,
and Dean's got a family,
Lisa and Ben? I feel like we started our podcast season 6 seasons ago. I can't remember what the
yeah. No, but John's right. There's so much in that's packed into this season because you've got the Dean and Lisa thing, and then you've also got the Campbells that come along. You got this whole Campbell family that happens this season.
Yeah.
And then you've got the mother of all monsters and that whole thing, and that ended a couple episodes ago. And now you got this drama with Castiel. It's like there's a whole bunch going on. You can't point your finger on one big bad. Okay, guys, hold on. We're coming right back.
Hey, everybody. Richard Spate Jr. here with a question for you. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? I bet you are. Good news. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. What? Yeah, you heard me right. 2 minutes. So you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. And you're not going to be slaving away in the kitchen either, because Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared. It is perfect for an active, busy lifestyle. Still trying to shed some of that holiday weight? Oh, I got good news for you. Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto Meals, based on a randomized, controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto. Results will vary based on diet and exercise. You know, there's 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. Holy smokes, it is super easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from categories like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and other add-ons. You can reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Dude, I'm not good in the kitchen. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not my thing. So the fact that they come prepared and all I got to do is heat and then eat, I can heat and eat. So this is perfect for me. And I'm eating healthy. If I wasn't eating Factor, I'd be eating a bunch of crap. Not now. I got great ingredients that are good for me and taste delicious. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 off and use code SPNTAN50 off to get 50% off your first box. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 off and use code SPNTAN50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code SPNTAN50 off at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. And now back to the episode.
You know, that's interesting you point that out, both of you, because it is like they're working on a family element this season. And not the two big ones they reached for are the Campbells and the Lisa and Ben. And neither really get a toehold. Neither of them seem to like land in a way that really connects with the audience, I think.
Right.
Well, I agree on the Campbell part. That sort of just came and went. And I was like, what? Why did we do this? Plus, Mitch Pileggi looks nothing like Drake Rogers and vice versa.
Very true.
The Lisa and Ben, that was a tough needle to thread. I personally thought that did pretty good. I thought she was what's her name? Cindy
Sampson.
Cindy Sampson. Yeah, she's great.
She did great.
Yeah, it's not an indictment of the performance at all. Obviously, you got Cindy Sampson and Mitch Pileggi, and some great performers in these playing these characters.
So I just mean they had to. It was a heavy lift because it was a lot of. I'm trying to think back of the times. There was a lot of throughout the seasons. If you look at the 15 years as a whole, it should take some left and right hand turns and take some chances. I personally, just from production standpoint, hated all the heads getting cut off because those took forever to accomplish. And I think there's some more next year.
I think that goes on throughout. Like, yeah, I can recall some decapitations in every season.
Yeah. I think it was probably Bob that said, let's
cut their heads off.
Let's cut back on those. But I don't know. I like the year, but.
Well, there's a lot to like in the year. We were just talking about like, John, what was the one you directed previous to this one?
Mommy Dearest.
That's the one where Eve becomes Mary, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the best ones of the season. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's a tent pole of what the show represents from the old guard, if you will, kind of the
that was
classic
monster of the week,
I think
monster
he
of the
came on that
season,
year.
And it was great. And that's a great episode.
We interviewed Adam for that one.
You know,
I worked with him before. He's great.
Oh, Adam is great. This is your 4th episode this season and your 5th overall. So tell us about that journey. You're now becoming a regular director.
Well, they learned their lesson after this season, and they knocked me back down to 2 a season.
Good, because I was going to write a letter, but I guess I don't need to.
They're like, maybe it was this episode that's like, oh man.
Oh, stop.
Before is a lot. Was it? Did someone else drop out, or
it wasn't planned that way? I was trying to think. Somebody fell out. I was up there doing. It was actually not great. I was up there doing Mommy Dearest, which was actually a really tough episode, production wise and everything. We had a lot of stuff going on, and they said, "Can you do the next one?" So, Rich, you probably done this where you prep shoot.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of guys like it. I hate it because you have no time to really, really work your cut the way you want to.
Right.
I did not get a cut until 2 or 3 days into production on this one because I buried the editor with so much film on Mommy Dearest. So it was tough because you do 12, 14-hour day, and then I'd go home and give notes on Mommy Dearest. So I just remember this shoot.
Wow.
This particular episode, it got tough just because the nature of what was in my rearview mirror with Mommy Dearest.
Right.
But they're definitely 2 different episodes.
Yeah. So the way it normally works is for people who may not know. So you prep an episode, then you shoot the episode, and then you get like 3 or 4 days in the editing room normally?
Yeah. I think DGA has changed that, but you get 4 days as a director to do your cut. You don't get paid for that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you don't start from scratch. Like the editor will put together the editor's cut. So you're not starting with a bunch of film trying to put it together. So that usually happens a few days after you're done shooting. So you don't go right to the edit.
The Editors Guild says the editor gets 4 days once they're out of dailies to do their cut. The director gets 4 days to do his cut. And then we turn it over to producers and networks and studios, and then they screw up the cut.
And they have their way with it.
But
so if you go right into prepping another episode, you can't actually be in the editing room.
I can't be in the editing room, and there's nothing really for me to look at until the editor gets done.
Got it.
His cut. And this one just dragged on because like all the diner scenes in Mommy Dearest, that was scripted as them all sitting in a booth. And I put them in a counter and put a bunch of
way more interesting the way you shot it.
Yeah. Way longer to shoot it. And so I had 3 cameras. And so that just...
because you had, so a booth would have been stationary. You had Mary come around. She was behind him at one point. Like there was a lot of moving parts there.
She was dancing. Yeah.
That's awesome. It made it great.
But it made it, I knew going in, it would turn from, because it was like 9 or 10 pages. It turned from a 6-7 hour shoot to 14.
Sure did.
Because you got to relight for all that stuff.
Right.
So anyway, that was a tough episode. And then when I read this one, I went, I liked on Supernatural not knowing what you were going to get. You could get a soft and cuddly one. You could get a monster of the week. This one was kind of not soft and cuddly, but
emotional. Yeah. What about the H.P. Lovecraft thing? Were you a fan? Did you know anything about him as an author?
Yeah, embarrassingly, I wasn't sure if it was a real person or not until we had this podcast. It sounded familiar, but I wasn't sure.
I was aware of it, but like Dean said, I was trying to have sex. So, unlike Dean, I was unsuccessful. I was aware of it, but I'm not a nerdy guy about it. But I knew the lore and the backstory a bit.
It's funny. He must have like fans that are writers of this kind of show. I feel like I know just the name H.P. Lovecraft from shows like this bring it up sometimes. That's why I had to look it up. I'm like, wait, is he a real person? I feel like he's mentioned a lot in sort of sci-fi things.
I'm sure if he had Ben on, he could dial in every...
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure Ben knows all of it. So is the monster that possesses Eleanor the same one that kills Lovecraft in the cold open? Are we supposed to think that's the same woman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
So I was confused. Were you confused, Rob, about the ending? This is maybe not something you know, John, because it carries into the next episode, but it's the same. It's Eleanor, right? Is Jim Beaver's old girlfriend.
Right.
Yes.
When Castiel shows up at the end, what is that signifying?
When he shows up at the hospital?
When Castiel shows up at Eleanor's cabin.
And takes her at the very last shot.
She's going to the car, and she's like,
well, you got to wait till next week.
But that hasn't. Never. I guess it's a next week thing. Damn it, John.
They need her because she knows where purgatory is. Maybe she knows something about purgatory.
Yeah.
At the beginning too, with Lovecraft, when Lovecraft dies, you get this is done so much in Supernatural. You get the blood splatter.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always the cold open. Is like cut away, and then you get the blood splatter. How do you make the blood splatter? Is that like a paintbrush?
He was a day player, so we killed him. It's a combination, Randy and special effects, and it's always the joke on me was always take the blood to 11. I was having people bleed out way more than I think they only have 12 quarts, and it's like, let's bring out the gallons.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you do the splatter? Are you saying it's a digital effect, or if it's
no? It's practical.
And is it like a paintbrush?
It's like a brush or whatever. They got a bunch of tools and splatters it, and then the only sucky part is if it looks like crap, you got to reset.
Right.
Yeah, reset everything, right?
And do it again.
Oh, man. Yeah.
What did you find to be the most challenging scene in this episode? Because obviously there's action, which has its own challenges. But like we said at the beginning of this interview, there's also a fair amount of oddly emotional stuff. What was harder?
The emotional stuff, probably. The action stuff, kind of, not that I'm great with action, but I can do it. I've done a lot of it. The emotional stuff, it's always subjective. It's like, where's that line where this crosses over into sappy?
Right.
And just on the other side of that line is like, holy crap, the audience is crying. So those are always touchy because I work a lot with the actors. Probably the big scene where Cindy's bad.
That's great. I thought that scene was great.
Did a lot of work with that. She was great.
Yeah. It's fun to see her do that twist.
It was fun to see her do it. And those lines to her kid. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, man. Brutal.
I said those lines to my kids.
They were brutal. They were brutal.
They were brutal.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed when I was rewatching this episode, like you mentioned the old man, that was out at Riverside. Is it Riverside? The old mental
institution?
Mental institution? Yeah.
I wonder if they're still shooting there.
Yeah, I wonder that too.
The big act where they come and find mom and the boy, that was at Terminal City, which a ton of shows shot there. That's no longer there.
Huh.
I think they tore it down and built condos. I don't know if you ever shot there, Rich.
I don't recall that, no.
That was a great location.
Was it a set or it was just a...
I can't remember the origin of it. It was like a big old warehouse factory that had been closed and had people have been shooting in it for years. I think X-Files shot a bunch out there, but it was always like, where do we go? Well, there's always Terminal City. And you go there and you realize there's so many nooks and crannies. It was just great. But I think some years ago, they tore it down because they needed more condos in Vancouver.
I remember thinking when Dean is throwing people down the stairs and the staircase is kind of collapsing, I'm like, how are they going to get out of there? That staircase is wobbly.
I was like, man, those railings not well made. Like the one dude goes over one and the next guy just splinters them. You're like, whoa, those 2x4s were rot.
That's what I meant.
Filled with rot.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Dean smacking the kid across the face? Is that...
I just thought in the moment, the kid's got to grow up like in these 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, was it too much for you?
I mean, I get why he had to do it. It felt he's hit that poor kid before. His mother, at this point, I don't know their brains are going to be wiped. So I'm like, his mom is possessed by a demon and he's been hauled away by demons. Mom's possessed by a demon and is telling him things like, your mom wants me to kill you. She hates you. And then Jensen is like dad who took off. slaps him for a second time, it just felt like, oh man. And there's never even like, sorry about that, but
sorry about that.
And at one point too, Jensen's like, jump out the window.
You're going to break bones.
And even that, I told Rob, like, you're going to break bones, and then the demons just walk out and pick you off out of the yard. Like, what are you going to do? Scurry off with your broken femur?
That's the scene we cut. He was crawling down the street, and they just went and picked him up.
That kid was doomed either way.
Like stuff where Sam and Dean do the unexpected or the inappropriate or in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff because it just makes them human.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I hate it when all your main characters are so perfect. I mean, had that scene been with Sam there and Dean smacks him, Sam might have go, dude.
Would have said like, Dean, what are you doing?
Where's your moral compass?
Yeah, that's true. As I was watching, I'm like, oh wow, he really is his father. When he has to be a dad like that, his own father, who was not a good father and was not very fatherly to the young boys, that's kind of like what he's doing there.
Yeah. I just like when the main characters have flaws.
Yeah.
Not that people can relate to, that they, like, the audience should cringe. That's a horrible thing to do to that kid. But
yeah.
I mean, you understand why. Obviously, his intentions are, I'm trying to save your life and the life of your mom. Snap to it. You got to age up 10 years right now.
Yeah.
It was a very Spate thing to do. But
why do you think my sons are all act like they're in their early 30s while they're still teens?
That's right.
That's why all their cheeks are red.
Exactly.
I will say that, we're talking about the emotion in this and the sensitivity between Castiel and Dean and everything. But Jensen as an actor, like I'm always really impressed that he can so seamlessly dial in the emotion, tears in his eyes, and even though I know Rich didn't love the scene, but at the hospital at the end, like it doesn't necessarily scan with the way Dean has been in previous seasons or previous episodes, but you really believe him. He's really such a good actor, and I'm always
he sells it. I mean, for sure. Is that what you're saying? Like, I think he does do a good job of.
Yeah, he sells the emotion. Yeah, in that final scene,
Talking about the scene where he comes back and says, "Oh, I'm the guy that hit you," and once they've lost their memory.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that over the top for you, Rich?
No, I just said there'd be the first thing should have been. She said, "Well, I'm going to sue you to the Stone Age."
We did talk about that.
I did think she was mighty glib, considering you're like, "Oh, you're the one who put me in the hospital by rear-ending me."
Get a lawyer.
We need to swap info here, there, chum.
We were in Canada, and they're less sue happy, so maybe.
True. I also thought, I didn't mention this to you, Rob, but I thought it was funny. Like, obviously, she found Dean very attractive, but knew Lisa not so much. Like, he leans on the doorway, all smoking hot Dean, and she's like, "Can I help you?" Like, whatever Castiel cleaned out of her memory banks was also her attraction to that type of guy. Gone.
I always wondered. So that wiped out everything. Did that wipe out the poor boyfriend that got killed in their living room?
Yeah, clearly.
I know. That poor guy.
That poor guy is still laying there when they go home.
It was funny. I actually thought that was funny because in the opening shot, and John, feels very you, but she's carrying the biggest effing beer. Like she walks into that opening shot carrying, and you realize she's delivering it to her boyfriend on the sofa.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
funny.
When she walks in, I'm like, oh, they're giving Lisa just a pirate level drinking problem. It's just a huge yard beer. But then she hands it to a guy who looks like a pro athlete, so it makes sense.
For Phil and I, that was like
that's a teacup.
Beer. Yeah,
I got it. That's why I felt very John. It's like the props gave her a beer bottle. You're like, no, a beer, a real beer. 4 of those in a glass. Thank you.
Also, at the end, when he says to the kid, "Take care of your mom," I thought it was interesting. The kid's like, "Yeah, I will." Yeah. How about you work on your driving?
Yeah, and I also like, take care of your mom. Well, it's also funny. I wonder if Cindy's like, I wonder if I'm married. Like, it's Lisa. Like, I wonder.
That's a good point. I think we did talk.
How do I get home?
I think, if I remember right, that while I was shooting that scene, Bob and Sarah came in, and I was asking some of these questions. How far back does this memory strike happen? Does Lisa suddenly think she's 3 years younger or 2 years younger?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of surprises if you.
We have a good point about the dead boyfriend being there when they get home. That's going to be alarming.
And then they're traumatized all over again. His bedroom window is shattered and their furniture is all busted up. So you didn't particularly buy that
that bid? No, I actually was really glad when Castiel was in that scene and they were still like squabbling.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if he doesn't wipe her or heal her or you do something, this is not going to make any sense. You know what I mean? Like Castiel was there. Dean was distraught. Lisa's on her deathbed. I'm like, I would have been really bummed and annoyed if Castiel hadn't done what he did. And then Dean asking them to wipe the memory makes total sense. Like, why would you want to keep those memories haunting those, especially the kid, for the rest of his days?
The trauma of the kid.
I thought that was a great twist. I thought it was a great way to get, you had the issue with Dean playing the same note with Cass throughout. I thought that was a good vehicle to switch and have Dean start trusting Cass.
I agree. I actually even like that line of dialogue because Castiel's like, he's like, oh, not now, Cass. He's like, I'm not here for you.
Yeah.
And goes over and heals her.
And then when he realizes, which Dean should have realized before, I should just have Cass come here and heal her, especially if she was going to die by midnight. But the way Jensen played it, Cass is going to leave. Actually, there's one more thing you can do for me. And then and you come back.
Right.
Forgot it all.
Right.
So if you weren't crazy about the tone of that, you would have really hated my cut.
Why did you lean in on why?
Tell us.
I just thought Jensen knocked it out of the park when I cut it. He didn't do the OPT, but he was close.
Right.
What's OPT?
One perfect tear.
Right.
Didn't do a tear. He gets in the car, but I had between the car and the hospital, I built a montage of his happy life.
Got it. I don't know if I would have just like that. Like I don't. It's like I said at the beginning. I don't have a problem with the elements they've tried to put in here. I'm just saying, and I think Rob kind of described it really well. There's so many things going on in this season that it'll be weeks, months between Lisa sightings.
Yeah.
Like, so you lose track of that emotional arc. And then
that was my reasoning behind it. I did a needle drop of Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt, which at the time was not overused as much as it is now.
Oh, wow.
And went through and scraped all her dailies and Dean's dailies and put the scene together. Bob and Phil hated it and said, which is great. That's their prerogative. They're the guys in charge. Creatively, you gotta swing once in a while and know you're gonna, pop fly and you're gonna be out. But that was exactly my rationale behind it. She's kind of been in and out of these things. We really hit him over the head what Dean did, how magnanimous this was.
Right.
What a great guy and how he's now resigned. I gotta go back to hunting. I'm never gonna have that life.
Right.
Anyway, they hated it. That's not our show. Whoa. And I said, well, it's kind of this episode, but it was, I didn't fight too hard for it because I kind of saw their point, but I just thought Jared in the car, he's stating the obvious. Dude, you can't be doing stuff like that. And he tells him, shut up. I didn't like the break your nose line.
Yeah, we didn't either.
I would have just preferred, don't want to hear it.
Yeah, we kind of made fun of the break your nose line.
I'm not going to listen to the preamble of this episode.
Listen, you're hearing it now. Look, you know what I said to Rob? I said, I'm glad John is our guest.
Yeah.
And he's a veteran director on the show and B, one of our buddies, because we can have this kind of conversation. If this is your one and done episode, I'd be like, hey, great work.
Please bring it on.
There's a lot that works in this episode. It's just so dramatically different than some of them.
It is. I always tell people, I come from editing, and editing is notorious for not getting credit for what you do right about a show, and you get blamed. So my directing career has never been about ego. It's always been collaborative. All right, well, if you tell me it sucks, all right, I'm not going to, you're wrong.
Right.
I'm
not that guy.
And here's the thing about this, and this is dead serious. Any issue I have with this episode of The Supernatural is based on the episode of Supernatural. It's not that it was poorly written. It's not that it was poorly acted. It's not that it was poorly edited or certainly not poorly directed. It's just the story they decided to tell. And it's sort of an interesting, I just found that avenue an interesting choice. Some of those decisions.
Yeah. And I remember having many beers with Phil and we went back and forth about this. I think if Sarah was on here, she'd say the same thing. She'd go, well, in the context of what that year was and what they were up against and the turn they had to make after such a phenomenal season 5 finale, you had to really go outside the box. And I personally felt they went outside the box They edged on the box, but still thought the season was supernatural. Was it weird and different? A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Emotional. And then it got back to Monster of the Week. And then we went off on a whole religious thing. And then
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
You also have a French Mistake a few episodes ago, which is people say one of the best episodes, not even of Supernatural, but in TV. So, it's not all bad.
Oh my God, it's a classic for a reason. It totally holds up too.
I think I was shooting Clap Your Hands when that was coming down the pipeline. And I went, everybody at the time was going, did they jump the shark? Are they making fans? And the way Ben and Charles, everybody pulled it off, and the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, Rich, you look at certain episodes and you go, God, I wish I had that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet. Look, for me, Richard, this episode bumped for him more than it did for me. But, I'm invested in the characters. We've been watching every episode. I'm invested in the characters. I'm invested, where it's going. So, like I was saying, like when he hit the kid and all that, I didn't love it. But then I'm like, oh, wow, he's like his dad. I'm buying into it.
Well, I would buy that Sam and Dean dad might have pulled off the belt or something a couple times.
100%.
That's what Dean knows as a father.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why he's not one.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't exactly have the best template to work off of.
Yeah. I love that you were such a big part of this season.
Dude, thank God you directed this episode. I'd hate to see it in lesser hands.
As always, we love you as a person and we love your work. And so after this, you're more down to two episodes a season?
That's BS. Who do I talk to?
Can we change that?
I was down to 2, a couple times 3, then basically...
You still direct the third most of any director in the entire series. It goes Bob Singer, Phil Segrisha, John F. Showalter.
Yeah, but I missed the hell out of Charles. But
yeah.
He came up there for the 15th season, and we went and had beers, and it was great because it was a few months before he decided to wrap. And we were going through it all, and just the history of the show and everything. I think, if I was correct, it was the first American television show Charles did.
Yeah, I think it is.
And Charles and I have been on Mentalist, and then I worked with him on Revolution and Timeless and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Just a gentleman. Where was I going with that? But the point being, he told me, he says, they came out, at that point they had 200 episodes. Oh, this was earlier. I ran into him on the street up there. They had 200 episodes and they ranked them all. And he had like 4 or 5 in the top 20.
Wow.
I had 4 or 5 and 180 to 200.
That's a lie. You're such a liar.
Oh, I just said
you're the worst.
I'm not charmed by that.
You made the top 200 out of 200 episodes.
Out of 200.
Good for you.
I'm the Brock Purdy of Supernatural.
You were 200 through 250 out of the 200.
You're a liar. Dude, great having you on here. And I appreciate, I'll be honest, this is what makes this podcast interesting, is having an honest conversation about the episodes, because we have 300 and something to go through. And they're going to be of varying degrees of, everyone is not my favorite. That'd be us lying to people. This is a fun way to actually take apart a great show and analyze what we feel are its highlights and midlights. And,
Yeah. And like, look, we're artists, but also we're employees. And like, you do your best you can with what you're given. I mean, people all the time are like, I didn't love it when Chuck did this and that. I'm like, yeah, well,
not my department.
Me neither, but I had to do it. Yeah, not my.
Well, you guys, we disagreed on Clap Your Hands. You thought totally that went over the top, I believe.
Okay, you got to remind me of which one is Clap Your Hands.
That's the fairy episode.
Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
We liked Clap Your Hands. We liked the guy who played Ricardo,
Ricardo, yeah.
Dude, we thought that was super clever.
Go back on you. But that was kind of, there's a lot of stuff Jensen Dean did in that one that was like, ooh, cringe.
I think that's where we had
right.
Well, and I thought there were some jokes. I think we talked about this. Maybe Rob and I talked about this on the air, but I thought there were some fairy jokes that you simply wouldn't be allowed to make now. Like there was some stuff that it felt dated in certain ways.
We'll have a beer and agree to disagree, because I thought Ben did an excellent job of weaving that out in the outer from 30,000 feet. It's like, God, this guy is a racist, homophobe, everything. But it was explained in the show. So he was a victim of circumstance. The rest of the world doesn't know, why is he tackling this guy? That's
Yeah.
It's kind of like slapping the kid.
Right. But comedically, but doing it through comedy.
Doing it through comedy. And I thought Ben did an excellent job of...
By the way, I did not, that joke didn't bump. I'm saying, a lot of times Rob and I will analyze these things like, oh, there'll be certain comments you go, ooh, that wouldn't make it through the process now. So at some point, somebody would have cut that joke before it got to the shooting stage. And
right.
I think that was one of that was our statement about that one. Not that it wasn't funny in context.
I'm sure even in 2010, that was probably discussed when Bob and were talking to the network and studio about it. And I'm sure they had to point out, it's all explained when he talks to the cop. He is arrested for hate crimes. But anyway, I'm sorry, bringing you back to that episode.
Not at all.
No. I remember that episode being, we after we had I think we talked to Ben.
Yeah.
And after we talked to Ben about it, we appreciated it even more because he knew all these things about fairies that we didn't know, and kind of brought to light new perception of what fairies are and what they, what that world is. It's not what people think it is, and Ben's so fascinating.
This isn't me being sensitive and defending it, because believe me, I have one coming up that if you guys call me for, you're not going to be able to get a hold of me.
We're definitely bringing you in for that one. I don't know what it is, but you're hired.
No.
No. Can't wait.
Now I'm intrigued.
That one was a comedy of everything went bad. So like I said, it's just a matter of taste and disagreement. I like when the boys are vulnerable and stupid and do dumb stuff. But anyway, when did you start? What year did you start directing, Rich?
Not till season 11.
Okay, so
we have many years to get through until me.
So isn't it going to be a conflict of interest if you're?
Well, they're already firing me. It'll be they're going to get a hire lookalike.
Hire a lookalike? You're going to bring? I'm just saying, if you want to bring in somebody to really
Terry Newen,
at your episode.
That's what we should do. Is John and I will host the podcast.
Get John, get Phil,
and then we'll drill Rich.
I hate everything, so it's not going to be a uplifting podcast.
Well, we love you. We love your work, and certainly one of our favorite directors to work with and to talk to. So, thanks for coming on and talking to us again.
Yeah, man, great having you as always.
Thank you. I do love what you guys are doing. I love that you're brutally honest. Keep doing that, and look forward to disagreeing or agreeing with you in the future.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. That's what makes it fun.
Except for that one episode.
I can't wait.
All right,
buddy.
See you guys.
Thanks, John.
Hey, this is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We are going to take a quick break.
I'm someone who loves to have a variety of products in my makeup bag for when I want to be a bit more creative, but on a day-to-day basis, I'm really just reaching for a few staples. When I'm relying on only a few products, I want those to be my holy grails. So I turn to Thrive Cosmetics, whose beauty products are certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free, made with clean, skin-loving ingredients, and have thousands of 5-star reviews. So whether you're like me and want a few high-quality staples, or you're looking to stock up your makeup bag for a full glam, Thrive Cosmetics is the way to go. One product I love from them is the Brilliant Eye Brightener. I've already got it in a couple shades, and I've just seen they have a new gold one that I might need to snag too. I love a product that can have multiple uses, and the Brilliant Eye Brightener is just that. I use it as eyeshadow and highlighter, and it's such an easy way to elevate my everyday look. Plus, for every product sold, Thrive Cosmetics makes a donation towards 8 major causes, including those impacted by cancer, domestic abuse, and veteran and education organizations. I love knowing that a purchase I was going to make anyway is also benefiting causes that matter to me. Thrive Cosmetics is luxury beauty that gives back. Right now, you can get an exclusive 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/thrive. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/thrive for 20% off your first order.
This episode is brought to you by Abercrombie. Build your fits of the day with Abercrombie's newest denim drop. Here's where to start. Abercrombie's 90s straight jean goes with any shirt from tees to sweater polos. Super versatile. Their loose and baggy jeans are more trend forward, so you can grab those and go out with your friends. Abercrombie's denim fits come in a range of washes. Build your looks around Abercrombie denim. Shop online or in store.
Hey, it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan again. Welcome back to the podcast.
I think John was a great interview for this episode.
Yep.
And I'm glad that we were somewhat on the same page.
Yeah. And he has such a good outlook and professional outlook on the whole thing. And
he has the perspective that we don't have from not having been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I love John because he reminds you of, I am a bit this way as well, but like self-deprecating even more than he has to be because he's so good at what he does and has such a great career. And but he still is like, oh, that's a stinker. You want to know what else is? The next one I did is really a stinker. I want to answer the phone if you call.
He's a liar, but he really disagrees with us on some of our stuff, and I like that. It's nice to have a healthy debate.
I just think he's a great guy too. So thanks again to John, and now we take you to a land we like to call mythology.
Mythology.
Okay, let's talk about Hewlett-Packard Lovecraft.
Okay, let's do it.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Good one, the Hewlett-Packard.
Maybe I should have said brother. Do you get it? That's
I get it. All great printer jokes, Rob.
Great.
Back when you used to work for Staples and do all their corporate events, right, I said, these jokes are going to go nowhere. What are you going to do with these jokes after this gig is over? Egg on my face, because here you are.
All right, tell us about H.P. Lovecraft.
I thought all that work you put into those jokes, you're going to get reamed.
Hey!
But then it turns out...
Paper jokes, paper humor. People aren't doing enough paper bits. All right, H.P. Lovecraft. Rich?
Yeah, baby. He was born in 1890. He kicked it in 1937. He was an American horror writer, best known for Cthulhu Mythos. That's before Hulu. A lot of people might be thinking of the streaming service Hulu, and I am too. Cthulhu Mythos, because somebody knew this crap. His stories blend cosmic horror, forbidden knowledge, and existential dread. Really the three key elements to any great story.
Yeah, the pillars.
And his stories emphasize humanity's insignificance in the vast, indifferent universe. It sounds like very uplifting stuff.
Yeah.
Work like The Call of Cthulhu, At the Mountains of Madness, The Shadow over Innsmouth, and The Happy Fun Boat That Kills You have influenced modern horror, inspiring literature, films, and games.
I didn't know he wrote...
And, of course, a line of children's toys.
I didn't know he wrote The Happy Fun Boat That Kills You. It's good to know.
Yeah.
The episode was originally called The Haunter of the Dark, which is the title of Lovecraft's last written work before his death. He died of stomach cancer a year after completing the book. I wondered that if he had if his death was somehow supernatural in some sort of way, but it turns out no. It's unfortunately stomach cancer. There are multiple Cthulhu references in each Striggs in the episode, actually. And
Rob, don't do me a solid. List them.
Okay, well, that first scene when she comes through the window, the way that the feet stand, you don't see the person, but the feet are
right.
She's standing just like a Cthulhu would.
Right, and then next,
when Dean is interrogating the demon and he steps through the circle,
right.
The circle is actually the drawing of a Cthulhu.
Oh, okay. Right. Third.
Right. And then when Dean punches that guy and he breaks through the staircase and falls.
Right.
He falls and then he lands and his landing goes, Cthulhu.
Interesting, yeah.
And
then there's that scene where Dean goes to the fridge, opens it up, and then gets really frustrated and turns around and says, Cthulhu ate my leftovers.
That's right. There you go. There you go. And then they're watching, as you mentioned before, they're watching their favorite show on
Cthulhu.
First appearing in the February 1928 issue of the pulp magazine Weird Tales, the Cthulhu is depicted as an octopoid, great old one of enormous power who lies in a death-like slumber in the sunken city of Riley, beneath the Pacific Ocean. There are actual cults around the world that worship Cthulhu.
That makes a ton of sense. I bet those are all balanced people. Lovecraft is also widely known for Necronomicon, which is actually in the Comic-Con chain of events, only
Necronomicon.
Okay.
We did a series that was on Necronomicon.com.
Necronomicon, where you go and you could cosplay your favorite dead people from fiction. Necronomicon is a fictional grimoire or book of dark magic. The Necronomicon is featured predominantly in Sam Raimi's Evil Dead franchise.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
That's interesting. Well, if that wasn't fun, try our fun facts.
Fun facts.
Now, Richard didn't know this, but the episode title, Let It Bleed, is also the title of the 1969 album and song by the Rolling Stones.
What?
Yeah, it's true.
Are you Chahulu shitting me?
That's got to be one of your favorite albums ever.
Yeah, I mean, Let It Bleed, come on, the track, the album, everything.
It's one of the best rock and roll albums of all time.
Agreed. And Balthazar asks Castiel if he's in flagrante with the king of Hades. In flagrante is a term used to describe when someone is in the act of committing a misdeed and is often used to describe an illicit sex act with someone.
Wow. Well, okay. I mean, how many more clues do we need?
Good point, except for this is pointing towards Crowley.
Crowley, I know.
A thing.
I know, but still, it's just, Castiel's character. But because Dean also says he's butt buddies with Crowley.
I thought that he was using that as a conjunction, like he's butt buddies.
But they're buddies.
Yeah.
They're butt buddies. Crowley refers to Sam and Dean
They're not friends, but buddies.
Got it. Okay. So, you know what? That's my bad. I mistook that. Crowley refers to Sam and Dean as fop-coiffed little heroes. Fop is used to describe a man who is vain and always worried about his appearance. Coif is a Middle English term for styling hair.
It sure is.
It is a good line, fop-coiffed.
Fop-coiffed. The tiger painting on Judah's wall is the same painting Andy Gallagher had in his van in season 2, episode 5. Simon said, nice little Easter egg.
Now, that's just a coincidence? I mean, that's just like...
That's budget cuts.
Yeah, there's a reuse.
Tiger paintings don't grow on trees, you know?
Right. This is the first part of a 2-hour finale, as this episode aired on the same night as the season finale. Well, that's interesting and fun.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because it really doesn't wrap up it didn't scream to me first part of a 2-parter. You know what I mean?
No, it did not. But I guess we'll find out in a minute what's going on.
Yep.
I guess that's it. Oh, I was about to read more. There's no more fun facts. The fun is over.
It. The fun has ended.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to wrap it up, but we have one more. Only one more in season 6, Rob.
I know. This is exciting. And then we'll start looking at season 7. But yeah, this is very, very exciting.
Indeed.
What I like is that we really turned your mood around. You really started this episode as an old crank, and now you're a young crank.
I really enjoyed talking to John about it. I was really glad he was our guest, because if we'd had to lie our way through the interview, that would have sucked.
Yeah, it was always good to talk to John, and as always.
Like I said, get a nice little inside take on it and have a healthy discussion about it.
As always, a fun episode.
And hopefully more to come in this last episode of season 6.
That's right. All right, everybody, we'll see you at the next time. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester, and Misha Collins as Castiel.
Guest stars include Mark Shepard, Jim Beaver, Sebastian Roche, Kim Johnston Ulrich, who is the wife of Robert Ulrich,
amazing
casting director for Supernatural, Cindy Sampson, Nicholas Elia, Adam Graydon Reed, and Peter Chufa.
Let It Bleed was written by Sarah Gamble and directed by John F. Showalter.
Editing by Nicole Baer, music by Jay Greska.
Executive produced by Robert Singer, Sarah Gamble, and Eric Kripke.
This episode featured the following song, The Loudest Alarm by Scars on 45.
The episode originally aired on May 20th, 2011.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hyde, written by Stephen Hyde and Hada Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What's up, Booty?
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and YouTube at SPN Then and Now.
Become a member of the podcast to get early access, chat rooms with other podcast fans, and video interviews at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now.
So that's it. Just that thought ends there with that sentence. All the words that we just said make no sense.
Nope.
Everything we said was like, Nomicon.
Steve did the international sign for punching somebody in the face, and I immediately knew what he meant.
However, have you ever considered listening with a friending?
With a friending? With a friending? Like, okay, I understand a lot of your typos, but that's not even a word, I don't think. A friending?
Is that how you spell exercise?
No, I think there's an O in there. Exorcise. Yeah.
He's just gonna run her around,
Although it's not going to kill you to help a demon lose a few underwater
do some
pounds.
tricep things.
Dig, Dark Dean.
Dig is a different kind of Dean.
Different kind of Dark Dean. Don't dangle a different Dean to Dick.
Hey, I get it, Dick. And
Dick don't need no Dean dangle.
Story Mill Media.
Hello, I am Kristen Russo.
And I am Jenny Owen Youngs.
We are the hosts of Buffering the Vampire Slayer once more with Spoilers, a rewatch podcast covering all 144 episodes of, you guessed it, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
We are here to humbly invite you to join us for our 5th Buffy prom, which, if you can believe it, we are hosting at the actual Sunnydale High School. That's right. On April 4th and 5th, we will be descending upon the campus of Torrance High School, which was the filming location for Buffy's Sunnydale High, to dance the night away to 90s music in the iconic courtyard, to sip on punch right next to the Sunnydale High fountain, and to nerd out together in our prom best inside of the set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
All information and tickets can be found at bufferingcast.com/prom. Come join us.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen, a reader, writer, liver, and breather of comic books.
And I'm Nat. I used to know absolutely nothing about comics, but now...
So actually, I've got a quiz for you.
I still have a lot to learn about comics.
Thank you. On Comic Sans, I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and the Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's...
Paneling, gutters, page turns, colorings, lettering, semiotics, juxtaposition.
Okay, Professor, save it for the episodes.
You can listen to Comic Sans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can binge our first 2 seasons. That's over 20 episodes on 20 different comics.
And we just launched Season 3, new episodes every 2 weeks.